Sometimes it seems our life has a pattern that seems to lead to unhappiness, to disappointment. When we are young, we can often have hopes and dreams of a successful, fulfilling, and a happy life. But yet, often, as we get older, we can feel bitter, maybe due to our failures, or feel some regret for missed opportunities. Maybe we even feel our reputation has been tarnished, or even lost. So what is happening in this experience that we call life? What is happening that we might end up in this way? My name is Dave from the PICER Institute, an institute that dedicates itself to researching the mechanism of life. Why life can be so difficult? Can there really be some truly effective solutions? The findings of this institute are that our life is being guided by our DNA structure. And if we do want to change things for the better, maybe it is more than just relying on external interventions, such as psychology, medicine, or even surgery. It does seem to be common knowledge nowadays that our DNA guides our appearance, our physique, and also what illnesses or diseases we will have in our lives. But what is less known is that our DNA also guides our emotions, our perceptions, and our thinking patterns, and gives us our value systems. What also is not so common a knowledge is how DNA actually guides these aspects of our life. What is the mechanism that does this? Our findings are that it is through consciousness. But what do we mean by consciousness? Consciousness is how we think, how we perceive things, and the emotions that are generated from these perceptions. All of these, our thinking patterns, our perceptions, our emotions, seem to be what guides our appearance, our physique, our illnesses, and also what may not be generally known is that our DNA also guides our career, our finances, whether we are successful in life or not, meaning that our whole life is based on the workings of the entire universe. Not only is it our DNA that guides our thinking, but the physical universe is generating strong consciousness that also affects our thinking as well. People often think that everything is connected, but now it seems we are beginning to find out how and why. Often what we experience in our lives, successes or failures, all are for the purpose of generating excitement for the system, so the system can get its recognition. It is similar to humans who generate a sense of excitement, for example, through the sense of taste, such as when eating spicy food. In this example, our taste buds do not actually know that they are generating excitement. They are just serving the person eating. So, in a similar way, it also seems that the emotions that each person generates are serving a bigger system. It is using perceptions and emotions to give itself, the system, a sense of existence, which means that we humans are helping the system to give its sense of existence. In a way, we are enslaved by these rules or calculated values because we are under a big calculation, which is the system. Some people believe in numerology or astrology, and generally they do understand what we mean by calculation. The calculation of the system seems to be based on a sequential series of logics, a necessary series of steps that have to be invoked in order to form any particular mindset or emotion to be produced. It is a sequence of logics, so it is this building a sequence of logic and the executions or commands which seem to make a formula or program. So it seems that these logics are constantly looping in order to form new, similar mindsets, but in a more complex state. For example, anxiety is a more simple primal emotion, but the need for recognition seems a more complex state of emotion, which has developed from anxiety. Once these more complex states of emotions are formed, the system will keep on looping and trying to find ways to find more exciting ones, more exciting emotions. The intention of the program of the system is to stimulate excitement, to stimulate consciousness, and it is these mindsets and emotions that seem what is projecting or formulating the incidences, the events, for us to perceive and feel the emotions. This is the looping that we are entertaining these days that is based upon millenniums worth of evolution stretching back so far in time and producing the formulas of life and the results of reciprocity and multiplicity, meaning that when we have children, the two programs of the parents through multiplicity create a more complex program, which is the child. And then most people find that having children gives them a more difficult life with more conflicts, instigations, and this is the reciprocity, the extra consciousness of the children being experienced by the parents as well. So, most of our life experiences are actually here to set us up, to fall into a trap, to initially feel sufficient, to feel proud or feel invincible through what we have achieved, or the recognition that we are getting. But at some stage in our lives, we seem to begin to suffer because the system would feel that we are seduced to a point that it can pull the rug from under our feet, and then we will fall flat on our face. Most people are entertaining this type of story, especially people who are very successful. Later on in their lives, most so-called successful people are actually very miserable. It is just most of the public do not know this. Their lives are quite miserable, but they do not share their suffering for others to know about them. They would begin to experience the repercussion effects, the ripple effects of their characteristics or their modes of living, which have been developing throughout the years. And the dark side of these characteristics would then be revealed. To reverse this process, we will need to understand our mindsets and our preferences, and to change these mindsets and preferences as quickly as possible. The faster you can rectify these characteristics, the faster your DNA structure will change and your life will change. Why does the system use failure to generate more excitement, more consciousness? Because during failure, it strikes massive fear, massive aggression, massive anger, and these can be the most intense forms of emotions. And, in turn, the physical effect is due to the cells. They cannot withstand such massive electrical current from these emotions and the radiation, hence giving us ailments and pain. The system is only doing what it needs to do, based on the intention what it is written for. If we understand that the intention of the system is to generate consciousness, to feel its existence, even though this can seem mean, because the end products of this process are ailments and disease and failure. It is an effective way of generating consciousness. But there is a way out of the menace that we are experiencing from the system, from life itself, as the system of life is actually threatening humanity itself. In order for consciousness to succeed, for the system to succeed, meaning for it to continue to create consciousness, there has to be a change. For example, when we go to a party with much loud music, we usually need to have a quiet time afterwards to mellow out. So it is for the system as a whole. It also needs to experience a more mellow time, as it has so effectively generated so much excitement and suffering. So the need for a change, this is the antidote itself. So the need for change itself can be our antidote, coming from a realization that at a certain time we need to start to become more harmonious, more calm. Our DNA is actually a storage device, and scientists are only just beginning to explore this possibility. DNA has stored a lot of fear from the slaughtering and the wars through the millions of years of evolution. In today's modern world, this inherited fear manifests as fear of losing, fear of not being successful, fear of not getting recognized. We're born with a fear-based value system, but our fear drives our desires, so we struggle and blindly strive for what we desire or strive to overachieve. Many diseases are caused by these fears and aggressions. Our mindsets and emotions form electromagnetic fields, which emit multiple and minute amounts of radiation, and ultimately, to reverse this process, we will need to understand our mindsets and our preferences and change these mindsets and preferences as quickly as possible. The faster you can rectify these characteristics, the faster your DNA structure will change and your life will change. If we want to resolve a health issue or maintain a healthy body, then we need to maintain a healthy mindset by combating or working with these fears, changing our value systems, such as the value of achievement is happiness, or success in the finance world is happiness, and training ourselves to change our inboard psychology to completely deviate from our original DNA structure. Then we aren't entertaining these embedded instructions given to us throughout our DNA, blindly generating mindsets which translate into radiation that are harming our bodies. These are the findings from our 25 years of dedicated research about life in a nutshell. This understanding about life is obscured from most people because we all operate so diligently, following very exactly in accordance with our DNA program. And our program is not designed to scrutinize our DNA. Our program will not question why we operate, why we live in this way. The same as a computer does not know how to scrutinize itself. For example, when we press the on button on a computer, it will run through a series of steps. And in the end, the computer screen will turn on. The computer will not try to understand why it does this, because it is not programmed to scrutinize its every action. Our DNA program is the same. We are not designed to scrutinize, to ask questions so as to understand why we do what we do. But through fate, in our research institute, there seems to exist an unusual mindset or an unusual way of thinking that actually scrutinizes why people suffer. And with our viewing technology, we can confirm our research postulations about life's workings. Through a due diligence in rectifying their mindsets, changing their personality, and thus altering their DNA structure, many people that we know have come out much better in life. We have been able to witness examples of this in our teammates, in our clients, who are successful examples of a very new methodology, a new understanding. We should be aware from now on, if we can, because it seems there is a clock ticking or a fuse has just been lit on a time bomb, because our lives can be relatively smooth sailing to a certain point, and then it seems that this time bomb waiting on our path explodes and causes a series of very unsavory things to happen, like a domino effect. We have regretfully seen this with some dear friends, when about 1 to 2 years before the onset of a severe illness or even death, a number of devastating events would happen, and our mindsets would get more and more into trouble. It could be that our professional career comes to an end point, or we get into a very problematic time in our lives, and a series of events are staged, events causing grudge, feeling others are undeserving, or others are unwilling to let go. If we get stuck in these patterns, these mindsets, feeling very negative towards others, blaming others, even blaming life itself, these perceptions, emotions, or psychology may begin to take our lives in a downhill direction. If this does happen to us, our advice is that we be very, very careful from here onwards. Try to consider the point of view of how the system works, that there is a calculation, and do not take things so personally. We need to try to jump out from our personal points of view and try to understand the greater picture. Really, we are just a speck of dust in the system that is contributing these emotions and these psychologies, like being caught in a net and captured by the system and being used for its purposes. Have you ever watched the movie called Matrix with Keanu Reeves? In this movie, many people are in a dream world and are contributing electrical current to give energy to a machine world. What we are talking about here is something like this movie's concept, where people are sleeping in a dream world. Our understanding is that all consciousness is working in a really huge dream world, and within a massive calculation. Few of us have the chance to understand this. For myself, many difficult things happen in my life, in my family, in my career, and my finances, with my health, and with my emotions, being often constantly depressed and even suicidal. Yet now, at the age of 66, I am quite full of hope, happy, and with few regrets. If the opportunity arises with those I have harmed, I would treasure the chance to apologize for my faults, to try and make amends and repair the friendships, because now it is very clear to me I do not want to harm anyone through what I say or what I do. This new understanding feels liberating, giving me a sense of freedom. I look forward to the next stage of my life with a passion. Thank you.